Hello, everyone. This is the Revolutionary Think Tank podcast. If this is your first time here, this is a podcast about political commentary, a sprinkling of philosophy, organizing psychology, and revolutionary thinking. My name is 4AS, and this is my co-host, MysterE. So, MysterE, how are you going today?
I am very well, 4IS. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm going pretty good. And look, this is something that you gave Kareem and I quite a while back, but
Yeah.
I thought we would discuss the blueprint for the AI Bill of Rights.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because, like, that's the interesting thing about this document is that this actually came out in 2022.
Yeah.
From, what was it, the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy.
Yeah, as directed by President Biden.
Yes.
Right? He asked the people to look into it, the faithful people in the science department, or...
Yeah, but, like, this is where I'm a little confused about
Office of Science and Technology, sorry.
Yes. But, like, this is where I'm a little confused because they called it a blueprint to an AI Bill of Rights. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident later on, especially about the document and everything, they talk about, this being used for legislation. So
Yeah.
unless there's, like, some marketing or there's, like, some inside lingo with American politics that, like, when they present reports they call them like Bill of Rights, unless there's something about that. I'm confused as to why they called it a blueprint to AI.
Yeah, I know, right? And, like, I would suggest to you, no, they don't just, like, label things bills of rights unnecessarily or just for, like, good PR purposes. I do think it's supposed to be like a Bill of Rights document. However, can I just say before we start getting in all technical on this one, that, like, I was incredibly disappointed upon reading it because it was not what I expected at all. I thought that this was an AI Bill of Rights, as in rights for artificial intelligence and, like, granting rights to other forms of intelligence. So I was like, oh, this is so forward thinking. They're already thinking about consciousness as it exists in an artificial, kind of life form, I guess you would say. And, like, they're already trying to, be ahead of the curve and really try and make sure that they're catered for in a society full of other conscious beings. But, like, it's definitely got nothing to do with that. So if you're sitting at home listening to this right now and you're just like, oh, an AI Bill of Rights, I wonder what type of rights artificial intelligence is going to have. Does ChatGPT have rights to something that I don't have? No, it's got nothing to do with that. It's actually about protecting people, humans,
Yes.
from automation, really, and algorithms. Actually, that's really what it's centered around to me for. I guess I'm not sure what you got from it generally.
Oh no, like, I would have been really impressed if this was like some sort of philosophical foundational document about, like, what is consciousness.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I thought it was going to be as well.
And then recount, like, the story of iRobot and, like what does it mean to, Can a robot create a beautiful masterpiece?
Yeah.
Can
you write a symphony?
Yeah. Can you? Don't get me wrong. Like, if it was something like that, I would have been like, damn, this is awesome. But I guess I don't know. It's probably because I'm watching with my partner West Wing at the moment. I was like, this is probably just a document about, like, hey, this is what AI is doing, and this is how people are exploiting it. How do we mitigate these factors and protect ourselves?
Well, that's exactly what it is, really. Yeah, it should be called the Human Bill of Rights for protection against automation algorithms and the rise of artificial intelligence or something like that. It really makes it sound like, if you were talking about branding or marketing, like, they've really missed, like, the window on this one, because, like, wow. Like, the blueprint for an AI, an artificial intelligence Bill of Rights, does make it sound like we're kind of coming to terms with the fact that there is other forms of consciousness out there that are artificial, and like they're contending with the idea of them having rights because it's not a far-fetched idea for IS. There is a robot called Sophia, I believe.
Yeah.
And Sophia, I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check that. Sophia, artificial intelligence robot. Is that right? Sophia. Yeah, I'm just fact checking this one.
No, you're all right. But like, I guess whilst you look that up, to kind of bookend what you bookend what you were kind of saying is, do you remember like the old Janet, not Scruffy per se, but there was like an older guy in like Futurama.
Yeah.
And like there was one episode when I think like Fry and Amy were dating, and like he'd always be there like when something was insinuated that they were like having sex, he would be like oh. Like it was that period where like they were just doing like ordinary mundane stuff. And I kind of feel like that's how I feel with this AI Bill of Rights, where it's like I saw the blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights and it's like and then I actually read it and then I was like, oh
yeah, because that's what I was thinking. I really got excited, and that's why I like messaged you and Kareem straight away just to be like, oh my god, there's an AI Bill of Rights, like where we're really thinking of like how these things could develop into actual, you know, intelligences in their own right. And yes, her name is Sophia. Yeah. And like the interesting thing about Sophia is like talking about rights, because that's why I think this is not such a far-fetched idea. So, you know, just hear me out, listeners, is that like Sophia was granted a Saudi Arabian citizenship in 2017.
Interesting.
Okay? Yes. And like it gets more interesting, okay, when you think about the fact that in Saudi Arabia, like there are a lot of limitations. Like Sophia is obviously a feminized robot. Okay, she looks like she's got a feminine like face and she sounds feminine and all that sort of stuff. But like if you think about like rights for actual women in Saudi Arabia, like I'm pretty sure in that country, like women aren't allowed to like drive a car. Or like if they are, like a man has to be in the car and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like granting Sophia like all out citizenship is like she almost has, like you could say that she has more rights than actual women in Saudi Arabia. So it's like quite contentious already that there are like artificial intelligences out there, or like artificial, you know, like robots or something like that, let's say, that like actually exist and potentially have more rights than some human beings. Because like she's a citizen. There are people out there that actually aren't citizens in any country. Like there are refugees and like people that like just don't have like a nation state to call their home. And like, so technically Sophia, this robot, has citizenship and technically has more rights, than like probably thousands, if not millions of people across the planet. So like, you know, something to think about. And that's why like AI Bill of Rights, I was like, oh, here we go. There's going to be some AI rights out there, and there's going to be a whole group of people out there that won't enjoy the same luxuries as some artificial intelligence. But that is not the case with this one. This is, as we were saying, more about like, you know, really, I know we were saying like, you know, protecting humans from algorithms, AI and automation, but really, and like, this is hard to believe, but like, this is what America does on paper as opposed to in reality. But like, this is actually a document really that is looking to curb big tech.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah. Like, well, like that was the thing about this document is that, okay, it's not them waxing philosophically about like what it means to be human and what does it mean to be AI.
Yeah,
like, don't get me wrong, like that would be a foundational topic that would have been awesome to discuss. But having said that, these 5 principles that they've placed in front of us here, the safe and effective systems, the algorithmic discrimination protections, the data privacy, the notion and explanation, and the human alternatives, considerations, and fallback. Like all of this stuff, it's basically a one huge document about, hey, so this is how AI and automated systems have been exploited thus far.
Yes.
And these are the sort of guardrails, these are the sort of mitigation tactics we have to institute to make sure this thing just doesn't completely fly off the handle.
Yeah.
And like,
Or just
to be honest,
used nefariously, which is how it's been used.
Well, for example, like we've kind of known for a little while. Like I'm pretty sure they would have discussed it in Surveillance Capitalism, which I know you've read, MysterE. That like your Elon Musk's and your well, especially Jeff Bezos. He's been using like metadata and data in order to create his empire. So the fact that it's taken till 2022 to have a conversation have been like, how we've been exploiting metadata and data exhaust and all of that situation. Yeah, we should probably have a conversation about that. Like it's taken until 2022 to have that conversation.
Yeah,
which is kind of sad.
But like, you know what? It's funny that you say that because like it is really sad. But like this is a running theme in like the tech sector generally, like the Internet of Things, like artificial intelligence, the big tech bros that kind of run the world, kind of thing. Like that sector, because of it's at like the forefront of the technological revolution under the capitalist mode of production currently, like all like I guess in a majority sense, I would say the lion's share of like technological advancement is happening within like kind of the tech world at the moment, I would say. Like obviously there's still, advancements in like mining sectors and like in the military and all of that sort of stuff. But like a lot of those things have crossovers and like it's AI that's getting in there. It's automation that's leaking into those industries and changing them rapidly. Yeah. So like, all I'm saying is like, this is not a new theme. What you're expressing here is that like the tech sector moves at such rapid pace and develops so quickly in like such a short amount of time. Like everyone knows, anyone that's ever had a smartphone, like how different is your smartphone today than it was 5 years ago? Yeah. That type of technology changes so fast and legislation and government moves so slow that you can never have a conversation that actually keeps up to date with what is going on in the tech industry. There is just literally, with our forms of government at the moment, there is no way for legislation to match what's going on in the tech industry. And so like the tech people are out there exploiting new frontiers. Let's just call them frontiers for now, not real people, but like exploiting new frontiers. And they're over here and like, the legislators and stuff like that, they're back in like 2015. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? They're 2015. It's 2025 over here for Zuckerberg and the boys. And like the legislators are still like over here, like speaking about like, is it okay to like data mine someone and take their data and use it for advertising purposes? It's like, hello, they've been doing that for like 20 years now. Like, and like they're still having a conversation that should have been, like I said, taking place at least 10 or more years ago. So like that's something that like is just a salient feature of the relationship, if you want to get all dialectical here, between governance and the tech industry. There is just such a delayed relationship. It's incredible, actually.
Well, it's almost to the point where I'm pretty confident Kareem said in a previous podcast that the AI tech bros, like with OpenAI and Meta and all of that business, as well as like even with your iPhone, they have like 3 models in advance that they've already working on, and they'll try and well, at least he talked into detail how OpenAI and Google were trying to sucker punch each other to like bring out a model so they can one up them as soon as they bring out that other model. So I guess whilst I guess to increase your analogy that you were using there, whilst in 2022, Biden and I guess the governments were basically like, oh, well, we finally got around to assessing, how metadata and everything should be analyzed. What do you reckon we should do? And whilst, these tech bros are standing in the corner doing a dick measuring contest about like their newest models.
Yeah.
Like they're just playing their own game whilst
Yeah, exactly.
well,
They're
everyone else is
literally-
learning the tricks of the trade.
They're literally out there measuring it on their own terms. They've made up their own system of measurement, and like there's no way that anyone else, like especially in like on the regulation side of things, has any idea basically what they're up to, let alone how to regulate it. Like it is like that wild, wild west we're talking here for IS. Like they are over there on the frontier of this stuff, making up the rules of the game. And then like legislators are coming in like, you know, years later trying to legislate stuff that like it's kind of come and gone. It's old hat. They've already exploited that feature and learnt a lot from it and how to exploit better in the future or whatever. And they're off on their next massive adventure. And so, yeah, like there is just like I said, like legislators and like people in government and stuff like that, like they don't even like, it's not about just not having resources. They don't even understand what these people are up to because they're creating the game. It's like, you know, it was different with like Ford, or robber barons or something like that. Like, you know, people knew, what like the Standard Oil company was doing because everyone knew how to mine oil. Like everybody knew what Ford was up to because like, you know, he just needed a bunch of workers and a production line and he was making cars. But like this sort of stuff, these guys are literally creating the technology every day and then advancing it in some new direction. And like, there's just no way of reining that in at all. And so like a document like this is good, I would say, as like it's needed anyway. But it seems to be, like I said before, more actually a bill of human rights for the 21st century, which is something that I have been going on about now for years, right? For IS. I've been going on about this stuff for years. So like this should be the human, bill of rights dealing with, technology in the 21st century or something like that. That's what it should be called.
Yeah, because even like let's take the safe and effective systems.
Yes, let's go through.
Even in this, like at one of the stages, I forget the exact point where I've highlighted this.
But wait, first of all, what is safe and effective systems? So the premise or the idea between safe and effective systems is you should be protected from unsafe or ineffective systems. That's the premise.
Yeah, pretty much. And like, this goes kind of back to your frontier idea of things, is that, and really they kind of go through with it here about like, you know, putting in safeguards. And I don't know whether they talk about it here in the safeguard, the safe and effective systems one, but like, you've made the point before of T's and C's, or you clicking on the terms and agreements for like Apple or any of the big tech companies, and these things are like pages and pages and pages and pages. And like, yeah, you would have to not only get a legal degree, but also like spend your entire next week probably reading all of that business. Yeah. But like this document, I'm sure we'll stumble across it once we're looking through it, but like it turns around and is like, yeah, maybe when you have terms and conditions that people are agreeing to you, they're in plain English and they're easy to read, so people actually know what they're contracting to. Yes. And like for me, like it's little insights of stuff that, you know, somebody like average Joe about 10 or 15 years ago would have been able to tell you that when like, you know, Facebook and all of that was first coming out. They probably would have been able to tell you that sort of thing. But like the thing though with this document that I find very interesting is the examples of problems that they give, and also where the US government envisages how things should be running in principally, like in principle, like if we do have faith and effective systems, like, or safeguarding against ineffective systems, AI systems. So like, for example, one of the problems that they were saying is on social media, black people who quote and criticize racist messages have had their own speech silenced when a platform's automated moderation system failed to distinguish this counter speech or other critique and journalism from the original hateful messages to which such speech responded. And then another one they said is a device originally developed to help people track and find lost items has been used as a tool by stalkers to track victims' locations in violation of their privacy and safety.
That's an interesting one. Did you actually look at the footnote that they gave for that one?
No, I didn't. What did it say?
So that was like there's a company or there's an app that's been designed which is like pretty clever and like most people are probably aware of it. It's like a tracking device that like if you lose your phone or something like that, like you can find it. Like actually, I think Apple has it as a feature on most. You can set up your.
It's like Lost My iPhone or something like that.
So like there's apps that are similar to that you can download on your own. And like these apps have been used or like this type of data has been collected by like third party apps and stuff like that. And so like people can literally use other like that, the information collected on these like tracking device apps to like stalk people. Basically, people have been using it for nefarious purposes.
Well, to be honest, like even back in the pandemic, people were using it for Pokemon Go. Because the Pokemon Go app was tracking where you were going and would send you around places. And to be honest, I think even a story came out here in Australia where a guy got caught cheating because he was kept on going to the same Pokestops, and like his missus like checked his data and was like, hey, you seem to be going to the Pokestops near where your ex lived. What the hell's that all about? And then he got found out.
I really like the Pokemon, okay? You don't understand.
But yeah, I thought
that's hilarious. Yeah, like this is the ideal of like creating safe and effective systems that like actually meet their purpose and aren't used for like ulterior motives or used in a way that is kind of adaptable for other purposes or something like that. And so like it needs to be safe for users, which is pretty fundamental right to have when you're using like this new and complicated like technology. Like, I think, if you're going to write a bunch of rights that people should have when it comes to using these types of sophisticated technology that steals your data, let's just not mince words here. They're not collecting it just because they want to make the experience better for the user. Like they're taking the data so they can conglomerate you with other users and sell that off as information packages to data harvesters, who then sell that to like advertisers and insurance companies and God knows whoever else, endless third parties that want access to this information. So like, I think there should be a lot of careful consideration about how this should be used. What I found they were missing in this little discussion about why it's so important and here's the principles and putting it into practice is like really accountability. Like I didn't find much on like, the companies that like allow their systems to be kind of railroaded or manipulated or used for nefarious purposes. Like you don't know if they're in on the game too. Like you could develop an app, but like really be like, fuck. The idea behind this was to data mine, really, which is like a lot of apps out there are like that. Like if you look at their terms and conditions, like they're third parties who they disclose all their information to, and all the data is like going straight to like Facebook, number one, or Meta now, and then like a host of other third parties, and like those apps that are like really, I don't know, clickbaity and like really attention grabbing and make you want to play and enter in personal information. Their whole point, their whole existence is so they can get access to your phone and access to all of your data to send to third parties and stuff. They literally only exist to data mine you. And like us humans are just like, this looks like a fun game. I'll play that, shall I? So like there's really no accountability, I would say. It's more just like this stuff seems to be more about, like you said before, principles. It's like, we should have principles. Like we should be safe. when we make these apps. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And, like, they should be effective, like, kind of thing. It's just like, yeah, all right. Fine.
Yeah, but what I will say though is that once we get to the fifth principle, this become a little bit more apparent. But I kind of feel like they were on the same wavelength with Kareem, because like Kareem's talked to us in the past that like, oh, you know, hey, AI will take more and more stuff off.
Just for the listeners, who's Kareem again for us?
Oh yeah,
Australia's number one AI explorer.
Yes, he's one of the co-hosts of the podcast. Like, yes, by all means, you might be tuning in for the very first time. So Kareem, one of our co-hosts, he's an AI explorer, and he's said in the past that like, which is kind of what the fifth principle kind of discusses, is that yes, you kind of need accountability with these sort of systems, but also you do need a human face just in case things go wrong.
Yes.
And like that's kind of the whole point of the fifth principle.
Yeah, yeah.
But that is a story for later on.
Yes.
But like I guess the last example that kind of stuck out to me is well, what they call in this document the nudification.
Yeah, it's a funny word, isn't it? When I read that, I was like, did I just read that right? Did it say nudification?
But like, no, but I kind of get where they're going with that, because obviously, you know, the fappening happened with like all of the celebrities and like all of their nudes going onto the internet that people like broke onto their laptops and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so I
like that's literally like hacking and like doxing someone or like stealing their information. This is different. What they're talking about here is different.
like no, it is completely different.
Okay,
like I guess I was going to lead on to the fact that like, for example, I've been on the internet like in the last. Like, this probably happened in, like, the last month or a month and a half. And, like, I literally got an ad about, like, ad where somebody was like, hey, pissed off at your ex-girlfriend? Why don't you upload her face to this brand new app of, like, you know, this porn star fucking somebody else, and then, like, send it to her family and get back at her? That's like,
no
way.
Shit. No way.
Like, I don't know.
Like an ad. You got an ad for that.
I got a fucking ad for that. And I'm like, what the hell?
No way.
And I was like, who the fuck thought this was a good idea? And like, what? Have we gotten this far with the deepfake technology that they feel happy with mass producing that sort of shit?
Well, like, I always just thought it was like these, like, you know, like dark and like depraved, sad little men sitting in like a dark room in their basement somewhere, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna get her back, I'm gonna like go and find a way to do this, and they have to go on like the dark web or something like that, and they have to like, you know, to jump through all these hurdles just to like figure out a way to release revenge porn into society. I didn't realize it was just like, hey, you just popped up like a pop-up ad comes on your screen. It's just like, hey, do you want to get her back? Like, here you go, kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
that's really accessible.
I got fucking floored with that, because I was like, don't get me wrong, I've not seen it since. Like, this only happened once, and I don't know whether that's been like scrubbed from the internet, because like I don't know,
that's crazy.
Like, the Australian government was like, yeah, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah,
and like has blocked this whatever that site was from existence.
I can't believe they advertised for that.
But like, they legitimately advertised for that, and I was like, what the fuck am I watching?
Wow.
And I was like, I don't think I should be watching this, and I was trying to press skip as soon as I could.
Well, that's crazy. And like, that's what this notification is about. It's like deep fake kind of stuff, but like with a specific kind of lens on like revenge porn and stuff like that. And like they say in the article, like it disproportionately impacts women over men and stuff like that. And like, when you look at the footnote that they use in this one, it leads you to an article that's in Vice about this thing called, I think it was Deep Nudes, which is like this app that was developed by this guy, who was kind of like, he said he was inspired, by, this TV show in the 60s or the 70s or something like that, where like this guy walks around like New York City with X-ray vision glasses on, and like when he puts the X-ray vision glasses on, like he can see girls' underwear or whatever, or they're naked when they're walking around the streets, because he's got like these magical X-ray glasses. And so he was like, ooh, wouldn't it be awesome if I could like, you know, actually make that real? So like you just put in a picture of like some random like woman or something like that, and like you'll be able to see what she looks like naked. And so he developed an app that would superimpose a picture of a woman onto another naked body, or onto a naked body somehow.
Right.
And so like he developed that technology because he thought it would be quote unquote fun. And so like the people in this Vice article like kind of tested this technology on like males, and it doesn't work. Like it's literally just for doing this to women, like kind of thing.
Right, yeah. So it's completely targeted. So like,
well, like that's how he designed the app. So it doesn't work. So they said they ran men through it, and like it gives men like, you know, tits and a vulva or something like that. So like, it doesn't show anyone what like a naked man would look like underneath like their clothing or whatever the hell they're wearing. Right. So like I thought that was rather interesting, because like obviously that it targets, or it affects one section of the population a lot more obviously than others.
God, that like really brings a new definition to the male gaze, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. Like literally you don't even have to use your imagination anymore. You can just be like, take a picture and be like, I'll just run it through the app and I'll save that one for the bank. But like there was another point in here that I thought was rather interesting. Like, don't get me wrong, nudification, very scary how it can be used personally for revenge cases and stuff. But like I thought this one was interesting as well, and rather you know, big brothery. But it was an algorithm that was used to deploy police. So like deploying police, like going out on their like patrols and stuff like that, was found to repeatedly send the police to neighborhoods they regularly visit. Not the ones that had the highest crime rates or something like that, but like where like they're kind of called out to for various things. So you could, you could obviously see how that would go down in somewhere like America, right?
Well, yeah, it says it right here. An algorithm used to deploy the police was found to repeatedly send police to neighborhoods they regularly visit, even if those neighborhoods were not the ones with the highest crime rates. These incorrect crime predictions were the result of a feedback loop generated from the reuse of data from previous arrests and algorithm predictions.
Yeah, and see, this is where the idea of like safe and effective technologies comes in. Like, is the technology effective? Like, we're talking about a police deployment system, an algorithm, and a form of like automation almost that deploys real human police onto the beat. And like it's basically the data is reusing old data. Oh, sorry. The algorithm is reusing old data to make its predictions on where to go. Like it's not even like these systems are like actually being used effectively. Like someone's just like, I know, we'll spend like millions of dollars on getting in this new system that will be able to deploy the police in certain locations. And like, we'll take that job away from a human because it costs too much money. And like, we'll just let the algorithm decide. Don't worry. Don't look at the fact that we're giving it old data that really doesn't have any context anymore. Let's just feed it whatever we've got and hope for the best kind of thing. So like, people are like stupidly using these systems as well. And like, I don't know how safe and effective you can be with like people just not using systems properly at the end of the day.
Well, this might use another concept that Kareem's talked to us in the past, but maybe the reason why, like, and I guess I might be extrapolating from what you're saying, is that maybe what the problem is with these like systems, the way they've been used, is rather than using like structured analysis, they're using like unstructured analysis. Like, you know, rather than them saying, hey, these are the data points we want from this and give us everything in relation to X, Y, and Z. They're just like kind of feeding in this data to this AI system, and they're like, hey, give me the predictions of this and give me the predictions of that, and leaving it up to the AI to, to reach the end result.
Yeah, well, they definitely, it would seem that's the case, right? And that's what
Yeah.
goes to your, like, the last point that you talk about, having the human in the loop or having human oversight, all those types of things. Like, it really seems like something as important as policing, they're kind of just like, I don't know, let the algorithm do it kind of thing. And, like, algorithms are fine. All I'm trying to say is, look, algorithms are fine, or, like, AI is as good as the data it's working off. So if you're giving it data from, like, the 1930s, let's just say, like, argument's sake.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point? Like, that was 100 years ago. Like, the place has changed, Mac. Like, kind of thing. So, like,
Well, and it's kind of a bit like, having a GPS system that's like, I don't know, 10 years out of date, and it's like, go through the roundabout, and there's a building there, and it's like, I literally can't.
What roundabout? Yeah. Like, no one's ever experienced that before. It's like, turn left, and you're like in the middle of a field, and you're just like, what do you mean?
Or even better, I remember when GPSs were not as good as they are now on our phones, and like driving along a like narrow road and the GPS just completely hallucinating and forgetting where it is. And it's like, turn left at the next exit, and like for a while I could see that the only exit I could see was over the cliff, and it's like, I love that the GPS just wants me to unalive myself for no reason.
I think there was an ulterior motive. See, and that's a safety and an effectiveness issue. Like, like these things are potentially rudimentary, like issues that you would have with any form of technology, right? Like, you just got to make sure they work. And then you got to make sure that people are using them right. So, like, this is not like, rocket science kind of stuff here. But, like, there is an argument, and which I have been making for years now, as you would know, for us, that, like, we need to have something in writing here to protect people from the use of this technology in the 21st century. But like, this first one makes it really sound like it's just a technical glitch kind of thing. It's a technological issue. It's not really being kind of used like by humans in the wrong way. It's just like these systems, because they haven't been designed right, can be used in the wrong way kind of thing, or can be used for bad purposes.
Well, yeah, like hence with this, like, at least when we got to the, what should be expected of automated systems? Like, this is like the principles aspect of things. Like, it very mundanely says like, protect the public from harms in a proactive and ongoing way. Yeah,
it's like, such lip service governmental talk, isn't it?
Well, it's like, consultation.
Consultation,
testing, risk identification and mitigation. Like, it's all stuff that you would kind of expect.
Yeah, you kind of expect and do anyway, right? And reporting independent evaluation. So like, let's pay a third party to evaluate it for us, and then be surprised when the third party we're paying to evaluate our product comes back and says our product is fantastic. Like, like, it's just capitalism looking in on itself kind of thing. I love it. Yeah.
And like,
the free market's okay.
And how can these principles be moved into practice? And then it talks about its Biden's executive order 13960, which again is just talking about how AI works in governments. And like, that's reasonable explanation, and how they're like, we should make the law and policy of AI like we do with motor vehicles. And it's like, okay, you should probably make it structured, and because I'm sure if you make a nuclear weapon automated, you probably don't want it to kill someone, like a motor vehicle. That probably makes sense.
Yes, because when a nuclear bomb like malfunctions, different ramifications to a car, that's for sure.
So like, Like at least in the first one, it seems kind of very stock standardy.
Yeah. So what was the next one? It was algorithmic discrimination
Yeah,
protections.
you
Yeah, this one's a
should.
bit interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, you should not face discrimination by algorithms and systems should be used and designed in an equitable way. Now, this is where things start to get a little bit more interesting because,
But like it still centers around the premise, as I was saying before, that like an AI system, an algorithm is only as good as the data that is given to it.
well, this is kind of what they admit because they're like, yeah, AI kind of takes on the prejudices of the people that put in the various data.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like the data sets themselves. The data sets might have been collected from like, you know, a very kind of I don't know, what do they call it? Midwestern part of America, just people from the Midwest. And then they like try and get that data set and that algorithm that's trained on that data set and apply it from like, you know, the East Coast to the West Coast or something like that. Or in another country altogether. And like the demographics of the people the data set was, the algorithm was trained on is like completely different. And so like, you know, it's full of biases.
Well, yeah. Like they've even admitted in this, some companies have instituted bias testing as part of their product quality assessment and launch procedures, and in some cases, this testing has led to products to be changed or not launched, preventing harm to the public.
Yeah.
Yeah, like to just assume that something is going to be automated doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be perfect. Like,
Yes.
you know, garbage in, garbage out. Like if you, hey, it's a stat term.
Yeah. No, but it's good. It's
yeah,
good.
like if you asked a certain prompt, it will give that back to you. That's how the Chinese room experiment works.
Yeah.
Well, that's more to proving that it's not as intelligent as it is. But like, I guess if you put in a certain command, it's gonna spit something out.
Yeah.
But with this one, it was kind of going through again cases where problems have picked up. Like the one that I found interesting was an automated system using non-traditional factors such as educational attainment and employment history as part of its loan underwriting and pricing model, was found to be much more likely to charge an applicant who attended a historically black college or university higher loan prices for refinancing a student loan than an applicant who did not attend a HBCU.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So it's like, so if you're going to refinance your student debt, try and get it, like taken away.
But
or
also,
taken to another institution, they discriminated you on like based on what college you go to, whether it's a black college or not.
But also like it was kind of wild to me where I guess as an Australian, because HEX and HELP exists, where it's like, oh, for refinancing your student loan debt, and it's like,
yeah,
what, the government doesn't do that?
What? Yeah, it's like, what? Why do they even have to go there? Yes, because it's the land of the free for us. They're free to be able to exploit each other in like ways that like most other developed nations would find absolutely appalling. It's like same with like the hiring. Remember the hiring one? Like that example was interesting. There's a hiring tool that some companies were using, and it was like because most of the people in like the company were male, kind of thing. Any any applicants that hinted to their femininity in their applications or their resumes or something like that were like immediately cut.
Yeah.
Out of the pile from the AI or by the AI.
Yeah, it's actually right here. It says a hiring tool that learned the features of a company's employees (in brackets predominantly predominantly men) rejected women applicants for spurious and discriminatory reasons. Resumes with the word women's, such as women's chess club captain, were penalized in the candidate ranking.
Yeah, there you go. So like it's only as good as the data that it's, and like some people might be like, oh, see, like AI bad, like kind of thing. It's just like, well, no, I don't know if it's really the AI, as opposed to the people. Again, the people that are using it, like you could just say that these people suck. Like they're training it on things that like are just wrong. And then they're relying on that system to do all the heavy lifting for them now. there was an interesting one about like where was it? Yeah, this one, searches, like, so this is a search engine problem. So like something like Google, as a search engine would have problems with this. So searches for the terms Black girls, Asian girls, or Latina girls returned predominantly sexualized content rather than role models, toys, or activities. So like some search engines have been working to reduce prevalence of these results. But like, you know, if that's what people are searching for and like the data set is trained on particular people searching in a particular demographic, then like that's what's going to happen in the results. Like algorithms aren't subjective. Like they're not like, oh, you know, this person or like this batch of people like might like this, I'll just give it a try kind of thing. It's based on data. And so like people search for these types of terms, Black girls, Asian girls, Latina girls, and it probably comes back with sexualized results because it's probably like the content of what people are searching for with this metadata attached to it. And so the algorithm is designed to give back things based on its analysis of the metadata. And so again, it's the people that have to go in after the fact and update, yes, their systems, their algorithms, their AI to ensure that like it doesn't express these biases within the system. But like, I don't know if it's really, again, people should be like reading this as just like, oh, can't you see how horrible AI is or how horrible algorithms are? It's more a case of like, if you're not giving them enough information to work with, they're going to really reflect some poor qualities of humans that are using this technology, to be honest.
Yes, but doesn't this go back to the talk about, you know, grabbing people's attention? Because really, like, I guess I'm making an assumption here, but like the point of those search engines is that they're designed in such a way that whatever is going to be the top click, they're going to go with that within the system. Yeah. So like the sexualized content with those sort of tags, those sort of metadata ones, that is just the symptom that they're going for that sexualized content, because that's the one that has the most clicks.
Yeah.
So it's the bias that the algorithm and therefore the people that design that algorithm that want to go for the most clicks, not, you know, what is the most equitable representation for certain things.
But like I was saying before, like AI is not subjective in that regard.
Yes.
It doesn't make the decision that it's like, oh, well, this is just what gets people the most clicks, so I shouldn't do this. I'll offer something that's like more equitable or something like that. It just does whatever it needs to do to fulfill its objective. So it's up to people to go in there and be like, no, this is your objective now, algorithm. Make sure that you take this into consideration. When you process this stuff in like, you know, milliseconds, which is what it's capable of doing, like, you know, for millions and millions of end users, like this is what you do every like thousandth of a second as you're computing all of this data. Do it like this, you know, kind of thing. So like, yeah, I still see that there's a big problem in terms of really it's not the technology itself, it's the people that are applying this technology that really need to be held account for what they're doing.
Yes.
It's not a failing of like the technology at the end of the day. Like I don't read all of this and say, oh shit, everyone should walk away from AI. Everyone should walk away from automation and algorithms. Not that that's going to happen anyway. We're too far down that rabbit hole. But like the stuff itself isn't dangerous. I think it's the people that are using it. It's like that thing that, oh God, what's his name? He's a very old actor now. Charlton Heston. Like, he's a pro-gun guy, and he's like, guns don't kill people. People with guns kill people, or something like that. Or people.
Oh, is that quote from him?
I think it is. Because there's that Family Guy joke.
Yeah.
He's like, guns don't kill people. Monkeys with guns kill people, because he was in Planet of the Apes. And all that sort of stuff. And it's funny because in that movie, there's a lot of monkeys with guns killing people and stuff like that. But like, yeah. Like, but like that's right though. Like, the algorithms aren't out there like, you know, harming people. It's like the people that are using the algorithms, like spending all this money on them and just giving it a half-assed data set to be trained on or something, and then letting it cutting it loose on society. Like, they should be held accountable for that.
Yeah,
like they should completely be held accountable for that one. But like, you know, that's just me for us.
No, that's fine. And I guess to keep on going through the document, when you get to the what they kind of expect from these automated systems again under this banner, what I found interesting was the guarding against proxies.
So I hadn't come across this idea of proxies before.
Yeah, so directly using demographic information in the design, development, or deployment of an automated system for purposes other than evaluating a system for discrimination or using a system to counter discrimination runs a risk of leading to algorithmic discrimination and should be avoided. In many cases, attributes that are highly correlated with demographic features known as proxies can contribute to algorithmic discrimination. And then it goes on about proactive testing, and I thought that was very interesting. Like, what did you take from that?
Well, like, it just seemed, again, like they need to be making sure that whatever demographic data is behind the actual data that they're using, if it's in relation to people, which it usually is, with regards to these systems, is that they need to be conscious of potentially what biases are built into those data sets. And so, like, especially if it's being used in a way that is making decisions about how to select people for roles or something like that, or like how to kind of trawl through information about people. Like, you know, you need to be making sure that whatever data set you're using is compliant with like whatever standards are out there. Because like there was laws, I think they mentioned, about proxies as well. Like proxies like could be in breach of certain discrimination acts and stuff like that. If they're using data that is discriminating against some people based on their demographics, like their, you know, their age, their gender, their race, etc.
Yeah. And pretty much the rest of the stuff kind of goes through stuff that you kind of expect, like
from the government,
disparity assessments, disparity mitigation, and like independent evaluation and reporting. And then, were there any interesting things in how the principles have been put into practice? Yeah, there was some stuff about mortgage lending. What was it? The Department of Justice has launched a nationwide initiative to combat what it called redlining, which includes reviewing how lenders who may be avoiding serving communities of color are conducted targeting, marketing, and advertising. So yeah, that, like, I thought that was interesting.
It's all got a lot of overlap. Like between all of the different, like, do you know what I mean? Like the examples they use all seem to overlap from principle to principle.
Yeah, and to be honest, like how these principles move into practice, I did, like, in the document, I didn't find them particularly inspiring, if you will.
No.
And then we kind of get to data privacy. You should be protected from abuse of data practices via built-in protections, and you should have agency over how data about you is used, which is like so many stuff. Like, we've talked about this so many times during the past.
So many times. And like, it's all the stuff that I was talking about before. Like, you know, like there's actual apps out there that are just designed to hook you in with some flashy game or puzzle, or I don't know, a filter for your camera so you could look like an elf or something like that. And like, it's just wants access to your camera and your phone so it can just literally data mine you. And like, a lot of the cases, like, they're big players in there that are like first in line to take your data if they don't have it already for some reason. But like, yeah, big companies that are data mining you and stuff like that. And like, yeah, the third parties, man. They just want you to say yes, so they have permission to take your data and give it to third parties. And like, this is what this privacy one is all about. Like, you know, not designing systems that are like just hell bent on data harvesting you. And it's just like, shit.
Well, it says it right there, like surveillance and data collection, sharing, use, and reuse now sit at the foundation of business models across many industries, with more and more companies tracking the behavior of the American public, building individual profiles based on this data, and using this granular level information as input into automated systems that further track, profile, and impacts the American
multi-billion-dollar industry for IS. Multi-billion-dollar industry. I'm going to ask ChatGPT about this. How many billions of dollars is the data harvesting industry worth worldwide?
Should we share your screen?
No, I'll tell you the answer. Big data and business analytics is valued at approximately $198 billion in 2020. Data collection and labeling is $2.1 billion. Data extraction, $2.7 billion. Data mining tools, $1 billion. Data broker services. This is the data brokerage stuff, okay? So We've heard about this. These people that are like, they collect it, they feed it out to all the different agencies and the parties and all that sort of stuff. That's a $270 billion industry. Jesus. Expected to grow to $473 billion by 2032. Like
Jesus.
in 7 years. So like, these are big industries, man. Like far out.
And like even back to the point of data privacy, like it says it right there. A data broker harvested large amounts of personal data and then suffered a breach, exposing hundreds of thousands of people to potential identity theft.
Yeah, and like we've talked to hackers before for IS. Like I did a live stream and looked into this type of stuff. Like it's not hard for like once your information is out there on the internet, like available to these people. For it to be hacked by somebody else. So like, what ensures us that these data harvesters out there are actually using storing the data in a safe manner? And if their whole job is just to get as much information on you to sell it on to third parties, I don't know if there is much safety around that at all. And that's why I agree with you, Forrest. I think this one is the biggest one. Like really out of all of them is data privacy. This is where human rights of the 21st century need to go, which is like not only full agency over how your data is used, but full ownership over your data itself. That is my human right of the 21st century is like full ownership of your data. So if people want to use it, then like they have to give you a cut,
Well, like it even says like they're right there. Like one of the other examples was an insurer might collect data from a person's social media presence as part of deciding what life insurance rates they should be offered.
Yes.
Like
yes,
if you had data sovereignty and somebody did that to you, like without your knowledge, I think that would be reasonable grounds to sue them or get some sort of compensation.
It's funny that you said that because like I think in they got footnote 4 there in their footnotes is actually Shoshana Zuboff, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, A Fight for Human Future and the New Frontier of Power. 2019. Really? Her book is listed as a reference in the AI Bill of Rights.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. But like, there's a lot of interesting articles that they cite here. Like, they were spying on us. Amazon, Walmart used surveillance technology to bust unions. That's one of the articles in here. So like, so like they're using AI for that too. And like, You know, not just like, it's not like Amazon and Walmart, secretly use AI to help push products on you, like, which everyone is aware of. They're using AI to bust their own workforces too.
No, I think I do. I think that goes into it in Principle 4, but uh, goes into it in Principle 4 about like the union busting stuff, and like that was pretty intense. But yeah. Well, do we want to have kind of like a general conversation about what we've kind of seen? Like, we can keep on going, but I'm seeing a lot of repetition.
Yeah,
in this article now. So like, I'm happy to keep on going, but
well, I don't think there's much more to cover. Like, I know there's notice and explanation is another principle, but that one we've actually spoken about at length with like Kareem and stuff like that. It's like actually having systems, like how they've described it is, you should know that an automated system is being used and understand how and why it contributes to the outcome and the impact on you. And so like, yeah, if you're signing up to a service of some type and like they're using AI and automation, you should be at least told that like they're using AI. That's pretty simple. But like more than that, it's about explainability as well. Because like at the end of the day, like if you're using a system and it's got AI integrated to it, and like even the people that are employing the AI don't even know what the hell's going on, like you need to have a level of explainability. You need to be able to be cognizant of what it's doing to a certain extent, to be able to know if you're using it correctly or if it's affecting your clientele or end users correctly. And so like that's a really important one about being able to explain, and understand what like you're actually doing. Like before, if you offered a service, you had humans doing that, so they actually had to understand their jobs. But if that service is now being run by AI and you just offload that cost to somebody else, how the hell do you know what it's doing?
Yeah, because like I'm glad you brought up the fourth one on notice and explanation, because like one of the things that they say, like one of the cases that brings it up to it, Principle 4, is a formal child welfare investigation is opened against a parent based on an algorithm and without the parent ever being notified that data had been collected and used as part of an algorithmic child maltreatment risk assessment. The lack of notice or an explanation makes it harder for those performing child maltreatment assessments to validate the risk assessment and denies parent knowledge that could help them contest a decision. Like even with that, like an algorithm makes a decision, which, let's just assume that there was like an unstructured algorithm setup in this. Like the algorithm has just gone on its merry way and has made a certain decision based on something that it's seen in the data, rather than what has been dictated by the persons that was running the assessments. And what's ended up happening is there's a false positive with this, where they're like, oh, well, as far as the algorithm is concerned, there's been maltreatment in this. When humans have gone to look at it, it's like, yeah, I have no idea how the algorithm came to this conclusion. And then a whole a bunch of anguish and like, I'm sure massive inconvenience for the parent that's been thrown into the situation that they shouldn't have been in the first place.
And that's the thing with AI, right? Or any type of automation. Like there's a lot of people that kind of fall through the cracks where things don't make sense, and you need kind of a discerning individual to be like, no, that doesn't sound right. But where AI or an automated system will just fly over the top of it and like issue things without a second thought, kind of thing. Which has been a problem with automated systems forever, ever since there's been automation, I guess you would say.
And read 'em and weep, that's right there in the principles of like what we should expect from these automated systems. The entity responsible for using the automated system should ensure the documentation describing the overall system, including the human components, is public and easy to find. And like it's written in plain English documentation.
And like I think
accountable.
Yes, and like it's not riddled through this document, but like it's there. But like and like I think they even put in like in brackets somewhere, or like a disclaimer there being like, of course, unless for a business, this information should remain private. So like, they're recommending that it should be made public so everyone can scrutinize it if they really need to. But like at the end of the day, if for business purposes, if it needs to remain private, it should. So it's like, it's that classic kind of like loose liberal response to things. It's just like, oh, we really should regulate this to make sure it's done right for people. But if it's going to, reduce your competitive, exactly, reduce your competitiveness in the market and destroy your profit, then like, don't worry about it. So it's just like, it's just this really loose liberal response to like a pressing societal issue, which is again, not news at all. It's not new at all, is it, for us?
So, MysterE, was that your best Josh Lyman impression from West Week? Because like that was pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much.
Like it's all typical stuff that we've kind of discussed before, and about the principles. So.
I think it was good. It was good. It was an interesting inside look into what, I guess, government is trying to do, and to try and arm itself with the capabilities to kind of defend the citizenry. But like I said, like it is very emblematic of the larger story, which is the government is so far behind what the tech industry is doing. It's not funny. And like, the cases that they're looking at, the systems, like a lot of the cases that I looked at, were all articles and stuff that were from like 2019 or around that time. 2019 was 6 years ago for us.
Yeah. How crazy is that?
Yeah, I know. But like, come on. Like this is not like in the tech world, 6 years ago was like the dawn of in time. You know what I mean? Like, like that was when planet Earth was first forming after the Big Bang. Like, it's like relatively speaking, that's a long time ago. Like these guys have moved on and they're so much more sophisticated now. But like, the general theme, if I take anything away, is like, okay, they're moving in the right direction. But like very, very governmental style language. Hard to really poke a stick at anything of substance in that. Apart from, yes, they should have good reporting and they should set up mitigation measures and they should have a round of public consultation and they should take that consultation on board and make their findings public. Like, it's just like, wow. Oh, thank you.
It's almost nonsensical to be like, yes, government responds in a government way.
Yeah. It's just like, hold the press. The government have issued a very governmental sounding document. Yeah. But like, look, they try.
Yeah. But like, I thought there were some interesting points that were kind of made in that one. But I thought it was at least good to discuss today.
Yes.
And speaking of which, let's move to our final segment for today, which is, of course, what's that synthwave art? So what do you think is the prompt for this one?
Well, I'm going to say that this is Disco Jesus reading the 10 Commandments of the AI Bill of Rights.
Okay, close. It was actually the new AI Bill of Rights, creating and spreading democracy in the world.
Right. Close. But like, doesn't this guy have like a sick like Jesus Halo thing going on? Like,
yeah, like how funny is it? Like, it's sometimes I don't understand the reasoning behind AI art, but like it took a new AI Bill of Rights, creating and spreading democracy, and then it gave AI Jesus, I guess.
Yeah. And like,
AI's 80s guy.
Yeah, 80s guy Jesus, like from Vice City or something like that. There's like palm trees in the background and like, a lot of neon or fluoro colors going on. But it's
no, I fully expect that this is This is the AI Jesus guy that's like driving his car around Vice City, and all you can hear is "Take your baby by the hand."
Best radio station ever.
Well, okay. All the fun and jokes aside, thank you for joining us today, and thank you everyone for joining us today. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. And remember to keep thinking and keep learning. And to sign us out for today, I'll give it to you, MysterE.
Thank you very much for RAS. And to all of you out there, as mentioned already, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment to help promote the video. And until next time, please remember, I am, you are, we are a MysterE.